I'm ready for questions.
Well, thank you. I've been monitoring the chat, and we got a couple of questions, and then we'll open up the floor for additional
Okay.
questions. So, Miss Seal and Miss Nicole asked some similar questions, but they were asking about how do you determine your episodes? And I think Nicole broke it down as how long are your manageable episodes? So, can you talk about how did you determine a season and what's a manageable season?
Don't do 22 episodes. And in terms of the length of the season, remember I told you need to kind of think about what is it I want to achieve this season. So season 4 of the Boss Experience is about, kind of your vision 2023. What is that about? And so I just kind of think about like what topics I want to cover. I don't have like a predetermined number. I think about what do I want the listener to get from this season. And then I plug in the episodes, and that is my season. So the first season 1 was 22 episodes. And then when I nearly passed that at the end of doing all of that, I was like, that's way too many. Season 2 was more like 12 episodes, but I would say 8 to 12, 8 to, 8, 10, 12, somewhere around there is good. But don't, if you don't have enough content to get to 12 episodes, I wouldn't let that stop you. If you only have enough content for 6 episodes, do 6 episodes with the goal of, maybe I'll try for 8 next time, but don't think of it in terms of episodes. Think of it in terms of what value do I want to deliver this season? What is my goal? Am I promoting my new coaching program this season? And I want more people in my program. And so what do I want to cover, and how am I going to get that person from the journey of maybe just finding out about me to signing on to my program? Do I want to promote this offer and maybe have, 20 sales? What do I need to cover in this season that's going to get me to that goal? So think of it like that, and you'll be surprised how many episodes you can come up with. But yeah, don't let what you don't have, stop you from getting started.
Thank you. I have one other question from Ms. Rena. She asked, what platform do you use to create your podcast? And also, do you use for your background? She asked like green screens or filters or anything like that. So.
Oh, no, I use the same background you're looking at right now. I keep saying I'm going to change it, but no, no, I use the same one I have right now. And then what was the other parts of the question?
What platform do you use to create your podcast?
I use Buzzsprout. So the thing I liked about Buzzsprout, and I keep saying I'm going to look into other ones, but the thing I liked about Buzzsprout is it was very easy for me to get on multiple platforms. There was some distribution channels where they only maybe covered, maybe 3 platforms, 4 platforms. And for Buzzsprout, it covered, multiple platforms. I think like 19 platforms. Yeah, so like Google, Amazon, there's so many. There's so many. And also it integrates like another monetization tool is Buy Me Coffee. So it integrates with that as well. So you can, ask people to support your podcast through Buy Me Coffee. In addition to Patreon, and there's there's some other ones too. But
well, again, any other? Well, we'll open up for the other questions, but I want to at least say thank you for sharing your insight. It's been, I took some notes, a lot of things I need to start diving into and concerning more. And I also want to welcome Miss Uzma, who just joined us. So pleasure to have you, my friend. And is it Miss Fua? Please forgive me if I mispronounce your name. Welcome to the call as well.
Thank you. Yeah, you pronounce it correctly.
Thank you. So we're going to open up again. Thank you, Miss Michele. I wanted to let's give us all a round of applause. Thank you for your time. And I want to now open up. We're here. We're on schedule to 8:30. But if you have to hop off, we understand. But we're going to also open this up. You can answer to Miss Michele directly. But we also have other podcasters in here in the room. So please feel free to open up the chat. And I also wanted to say, for connection, I encourage you to share your information so we can connect with each other, because this is not, like I said, this is for a networking event as well, so everybody can connect with everybody. So if you want to reach out to another podcaster in this network, or we want to have a further conversation, please feel free to connect with each other, and so we can support each other along the way. And again, I'm going to turn it over. I see Miss Renna has her hands up. So Miss Renna, I'm going to turn the mic on over to you.
Thank you. I would be interested in knowing, are you interested in sharing the brand name that you use for your microphone and for your headset? Because you said noise canceling because of a lot of noise in your background. Would you be interested in sharing that or not?
Oh, sure. I selected the Rode, RODE. Mm-hmm. And I purchased it from Amazon, looked at the reviews. There was one that everyone was talking about, but like when I kind of looked at the reviews and checked in on some of the networks, I can't think of the name right now. It's the one everyone has. I can't think of the name of it, but I chose Rode. And I understand Rode is a good brand. I got like a podcasting package. So the headphones I have just came with the package. I don't even think they're a name that you would even know, but Rode was the microphone, and that was the brand I was seeking for the Rode. And the pop filter is Dragon Pad, but and they have different pop filters. I want to say that's the name of the headphones too. But they have different pop filters. They even have the pop filter that fits over the mic. But I definitely say get a pop filter, because it just kind of helps with the sound. And whether you choose to edit the episode yourself or pay to have someone edit it, you'll be surprised the sounds that come out of your mouth when you're speaking. And so if you can get a pop filter or a good microphone that kind of helps during the editing process, it's going to save you time and money.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Go ahead, Ms. Nicole.
Oh, hold on, Nicole. Let me just mention one more thing about the microphone. So microphones, by the way, can be as much as $250 or higher. I want to just share, I think I paid $150 for the set, the pop filter, the microphone, and the headset. So I don't want anyone to feel like they need to go and spend $500 for a mic, because there's some Rode microphones that actually run that high. So I just wanted to make sure you knew that. You don't have to break the bank. Yes, Ms. Nicole.
Shoot, well, one wasn't my question, but it was in the chat that was asking about the affiliate marketing. Yes. How did you select the affiliate marketing partners for your podcast? And then I have one of my own. So,
okay. So I look at, when I select an affiliate product, it has to be aligned with what I already do. So in other words, if I am a business coach, I don't think it would fit for, to, let's say, do affiliate marketing for diapers or, some baby brand, it's a disconnect. So when I'm selecting a product, I'm looking at, what aligns with my existing brand. So some of the affiliate products I've featured on my podcast is, LinkedIn, how to use LinkedIn. And so I connected with a LinkedIn coach. And so I feature, an ad with his service on the podcast. Some of the others have been YouTube. So it was a YouTube course. So, of course, being in business, you want to know how to monetize YouTube, right? Mm-hmm. So I think about what aligns with what I'm already doing. And that's also the approach you want to use when selecting guests, because once you have a podcast, people will approach you about being a guest on your podcast. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that the people you bring on your podcast, that you know who you're bringing on, and they don't start, saying things that may not align with your brand. And you want to make sure that whatever it is they're talking about makes sense for your brand. That's why that brand identity piece is so important. Who are you? And, what do you want to be known for? What do you want your podcast to be known for? And you want to make sure everything you do aligns with, your mission and your goals.
Okay. Well, the question I had, I was on a podcast a few months ago and I did share it. I shared it on LinkedIn. I shared it on my Facebook page. And it kind of surprised me when you said that people they're not sharing enough. And I didn't want to overshare. So I didn't even know that was a problem. So what?
It is.
Yeah. So what's oversharing, or what's, where else would you share besides where I did share it on LinkedIn? I did it as a feature on LinkedIn. I made a post about it. And I also put it on my Facebook page, which are the platforms that I have. But also have a website. I don't know, if it should go there. It's not getting much traffic just yet. So what are your thoughts about that? Because I'm doing one with Tanya, and I'll make sure I share it properly.
Well, you want to think about it in two ways. You want to make sure your sharing is timely, and you want to make sure you share, do a decent share in terms of on your platforms. I wouldn't suggest on your website. Unless you want to say, featured in and show, maybe highlight all the podcasts that you've been featured in. I could see it that way, but not randomly on your website that. So when I say timely, so I've had people, they'll come on the podcast episode airs. I always tell people, maybe about 5 days before, if they're a guest on the podcast, I'll say your episode is airing, on this date. And then maybe 2 months later, I've had people share 2 months later. That's not a timely share.
Wow. Yeah.
Your share needs to be, especially on that day of. And so, I would say, to be a good, if you want to be a good guest, share the day of the podcast. Let's, make sure it's around that day that the podcast launched. Tell people, that's coming up, and really promote it. But it sounds like, the post, you put it in stories, to me that's good. And I would do it not just one round, but maybe 2 or 3 rounds, because with a post, not everyone sees it. Only a small percentage of your followers will see it. So if you do about 2 to 3 rounds on the different platforms, I think that's good. And another thing that I will do is I'll send it to my list. So I have an email list, and, depending on where you are in your business, you may or may not have an email list. So I send things out through my email list and saying, hey, I'm going to be on this podcast on this day, tune in. Yeah. So, I've had people not share the episode at all, or they'll wait for me to share. And then, I tag them, and then they don't even forward it or reshare. They don't even have to create everything's created for them, the clips, everything. So you have people that will come to you, they'll get their exposure, and they really will bow out after that. They know you're going to share. You're not going to not share your episode. So they know that they're guaranteed to get that exposure. And unfortunately, you have some people that won't reciprocate. So, but what you did is good.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me ask a question of everyone here. When you first thought of attending, what's on your mind? What was on your mind as it relates to podcasting? What was the big question mark?
Say that again.
So when you think about podcasting and because most of you, I think only maybe 1 or 2 of you have a podcast. What is your big question mark when it comes to podcasting? And then if you have a podcast, what is it what direction are you looking to go with your podcast? Or what are you trying to figure out in terms of the next level or next step of your podcast?
I was just looking for the steps, because the first meeting I came to was probably the first one you did, Tanya, in December, right? Early December. And so I just wanted to know the steps. I have a friend that she she does mean well, but every time she tries to explain something, it's like she opened a 1,000-page book and she's on page 500. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I wanted to hear the step-by-step instructions on how you go about doing that. You know, the editor, and I picked a lot of podcasters' brains just to say, hey, how do you do this and that sort of thing. So, so that was it. I wanted it to be made simple, you know, just to explain to me in a simple way so that I can get out there and do it at some point.
Do you think you know the steps at this point?
I think so. I mean, I had an idea about what I wanted my podcast to be. I didn't say at the beginning, but I'm a career transition coach. And then I also do recruiting consulting. So everything I do, it's all things career. So I have an idea about what I would like to do. But, you know, again, some people just made it sound really complicated in terms of, oh, you have to, outsource the editing, or, you know, oh, you don't want to do that by yourself and you need this and funnel and this and any kind of business conversation with this one friend. It's just, well, you need to do this and this. And it's like, I'm like, you can't explain anything. I don't know. And she's coaching people. I don't know how, honestly. But yeah, so I just wanted, you know, talk to me like I'm 4 years old so I can get it. And then I'm going about my business. So
Yeah. So, you know, the one, you know, I think a key thing is, you remember I said have a good show. So the key to having a good show is having that avatar, knowing what your mission is, what you're trying to achieve with your podcast, and making sure that the people that are showing up at your podcast are the people you actually want to target. So you have to have an idea of that. But some key things I do for market research, because the key is when you're coming up with those topics and thinking about what people want to know, is you want to know what questions are they asking. So I do a few things. So I do social listening. So it's good to figure out, you know, once you know what your podcast is, to really figure out who else is serving the audience you want to serve, and what's showing up in their comments, what questions, you know, are popping up. And those are, you know, that's one way to learn. The other thing you want to do is there's a tool, it's free, but then it's not. So you get 3 searches a day, and that's Answer the Public. And so Answer the Public, how many people have heard of that or used it? Okay. So Answer the Public, I really like that tool because it does, and you want to be as broad as possible. So whatever maybe your niche is, that's what you want to put in. So you want to be very broad because you want to see what answers come back. And so it's answerthepublic.com. And so what happens is it pops out like all these like graphics and wheels, and you're going to be like, what is this? And how do I read it? But the key thing is that it pops out questions. What are people asking? And it gathers data from all over the internet, social media, and it tells you what people are asking and how they're asking it. And so your job as the coach, you know, so if you're doing career consulting, maybe people are saying, well, how do I leave a job after 40? Or how do I escape a toxic workplace? You know, whatever they're asking, it's going to pop that out and it's going to spit it out in terms of what questions people are typing in and searching. Another tool I use is ubersuggest.com. And ubersuggest.com does the same thing. And so do you remember when I said, you know, with your podcasts, you know, with YouTube and, you know, on your podcast platform itself, that you want to get really good at SEO, because the search engine optimization, also known as SEO, is how people will find your podcast. Because YouTube, what does it get picked up on? Search engines, you know, and depending on where you're posting and where you're showing up, if you feature your podcast on your website, you know, you want it to be found. So you want to have those keywords. So Ubersuggest gives you keywords, and it also gives you questions. It's also limited. It gives you 3 searches a day, and you can pay, you know, I don't think the fee is that much. If you're, you know, if you're really wanting, maybe you can pay a month and do all of your research for the year and really make it worth it, you know, if things are that tight. But you know, those are some tools that I use.
What's that acronym you use? You said SEO?
SEO, that stands for search engine optimization. And that's what you should be doing on your websites. That's what you should be doing on YouTube and on your podcast so that you can be found. Because when people go on, the different podcast platforms and they're looking for a podcast, you want to make sure you're popping up for things that, words that they're actually using. People may not use career consulting. They may be looking for something else. You want to know what it is that they're looking for, and you want to include those keywords in your title, in your descriptions, and then as hashtags, both in YouTube and also on your podcast platform, if you're able to.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's
and
something
Tanya, I'm sorry, Tanya brought up a good point. Remember, YouTube is a search engine, just like Pinterest. Pinterest isn't it's not a social media tool, so YouTube, Pinterest, depending on where you're posting your podcast, those are all search engines. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut someone off.
That's okay. I was going to say that it might be good to take whatever your description is and pop it into a word cloud to see if it's popping up the same thing, because we do the same thing for resumes. People writing resumes so that they can be captured by the applicant tracking system. The SEO is everything, right? Everything
Right.
you do. So yeah,
you definitely want to be found. You don't want all your work to be, for nothing. So just
Right.
make sure, just find out what keywords, use the same tools I mentioned, Uber Suggest, social listening, see what people are looking for, and answer the public to see how people are looking for what they are looking for. Any other questions?
I'm going to go start going around the room. Mr. Lee, you're Mr. Thinker. What's coming up for you there, sir?
He's sideways.
I know.
Yeah, I had to put it on the tripod. So I'm actually still kind of developing my question, but I'm almost where I need to be about it. So I'm putting this in terms of the podcast I'm looking to do again, which is about wellness, right? 8 pillars of wellness. Ideally, the concept is more so to not just be me talking, but really have guests that are subject matter experts on particular parts in each of these pillars, and we can expound on them. Have Black faces expound on these things through the channel to provide that information to people that want to physical wellness, spiritual wellness, all those kind of things. I know the value of short form on a level of 10-minute, 15-minute videos, but truthfully, the value of this is something I don't want to sit up there and hold too much of it away from the people. So what I'm thinking is probably actually end up recording an hour, take 10 minutes of like the best piece, put it on YouTube or whatnot. And then if it's like, if you want to get more of that, you can actually go listen to it on the actual, RSS feed or wherever else. That's what I'm thinking. But I guess my dilemma is, or the space where I'm at is, I'm unsure how I want to go about marketing each episode and the type of episode that I do, because I know how to edit on the computer and stuff like that with Final Cut for videos. And what I'm thinking is I want to be able to edit it so it looks really, really nice for that 10 minutes. But I also want to be able to market like questions to my audience to say, I want to have this guest on here. What kind of questions do you have that I can ask them that's pertinent to you? But that works in a live setting. But if I'm going to edit it, how do I balance in between having an edited version of this content and then having a live version of this content without neutralizing the idea of the live to the edited content? Because if you watch the live, you might not watch the edited content. I mean, there's no reason to watch it. You see what I'm saying? So I'm just trying to figure out what might be the best strategy about how to actually produce the show in order to be able to have the best marketing per episode. I hope this made sense, because I've been working on this question. I'm hoping this makes sense.
So are you saying you want to record live, right?
For sure.
And then you want to have those clips, those smaller clips to market, and your hope is that you'll be able to get input from the audience about what they want to hear.
Right, prior to the episode. That's what I'm wanting to do, so that they can watch live me ask them or ask their question. So yes.
So my first question is, where are your people at? And when I say where are your people, where is your audience? Like, how are you showing up now? Like, how are you engaging people around this topic already, and where are they at?
Well, I don't have the podcast right now. Like,
no, just your audience. You don't have to have the podcast.
Like, my audience is mostly on my like, I have a Rolodex of about 400 businesses that we work with over the course of this time. And that'll be that, and my mailing list that I have would be my primary, my first string of people I reach out to. Then the expanding social media based off of the events that we're actually going to be doing this year. So it'll turn into social media, because this will be one of those content pieces that really help.
Okay, so what I hear you saying is that to get started, you want to get that input till you know what topics what you can ask live, or what people would want to hear. So you would start with maybe a few questions, short questionnaire. Reach out to people if you have people on social media or on your email list. These need to be highly engaged people, because you want people to get back to you and respond. So you want to create short, simple answers. If what are you struggling with? And I don't know if this is your topic, but a chronic health condition. If so, which one? And what are your biggest struggles? Just think about how you would form those questions and reach out to people that are already engaged with you. And then once, you build out your episodes, you can you can send out the communication like, hey, this is what is going to be happening, this week with this episode. This is my special guest, and this is their background. With my email list, the morning of the episode, I'm telling them. But for a live episode, you're gonna have to. My episodes are edited. If I was doing a live episode, I wouldn't wait to the morning of. Like, I would make sure I'm engaging people around that topic before I have that live episode. And people may be thinking, that sounds like a lot of work. But you can automate, a lot of aspects of your podcast, and email is one of them. You can even automate your posts, for most of your social media platforms, so that that you sit down one day, you set everything, you set everything up to go out on the specific days to promote your episode. And that's all going on while you're doing other things, while you're getting ready to go live.
What app do you recommend to use to leverage all of that?
Well, for email automation, I use GetResponse. But you have GetResponse, you have Aweber, you have MailChimp even. And I use GetResponse, and I have right now, probably by the end of this week, we're going to have everything automated. I think the last season 4 episode will go through March, and all that stuff will already be uploaded and going on. And I'm focusing on my other task in my business, and that you wouldn't sit there and do, send out emails every day. And for Instagram and Facebook, you can schedule everything directly through the business platform on Facebook. You can even schedule your reels out now.
Okay.
And there's also scheduling apps too, like Planoly, Later for social media. And LinkedIn actually added a scheduling feature as well. So you can now schedule on LinkedIn. And same thing with Pinterest.
Really good insight. I want to add to Mr. Lee. When you start establishing your consistency, when you start putting your podcast out regularly, you can let them know what the next episode will cover. So that way you can keep the momentum going. So it's once you get started, you figure out your rhythm and your flow, then you let the guests know, and they become regular guests that they're turning into each week, or what they're turning on. So once you get started and you get your rhythm going, the consistency, like Michele mentioned, is key. So when you say next week we're going to talk about, the spirituality of whatever, then let that be the topic that you're talking about. And then you can also tell them ahead of time, hey, post your questions at such before we get to that episode and we can address those questions. So you engaging your audience as you're talking to them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just wanted to share that. So
thank you.
Yeah. And to Tanya's point, you can pre-record a lot of, because you depending on where you're showing up, if you're going to do it live and you don't, let's say you don't, you want to mention it, but with me, I do mine's edited. You can, if you're doing an edited version, you can also, have that already pre-recorded so as part of your podcast and just plug that in at the editing part or the editing phase too. If you're not doing it live.
Like that's a great point. Like, cause it didn't even dawn on me. Like, I can really sit up there and just be at the end of the episode, I can just put up a screen that says, the name of the podcast and just voice over that thing and say, hey, so next week on such as a date, we got this person coming in confirmed by X and X date between. Make sure you submit your questions. If you got some questions, this conversation is going to be about spirituality and occupational wellness. So make sure you, whatever. Got it. That makes good sense.
Another point I want to make, like there's some apps that can help you do that, like StreamYard and what's the other one? Restream. So, I mean, these are paid options. You can, if you don't want to pay the subscription fee, you can easily do that, a different way too. But it's very easy to kind of pop in that pre-recorded piece so that you're, if you're doing it live and you're just starting out, nerves may get the best of you. And it depends on, how well those nerves get the best of you. You're kind of like, darn, I should have said this, or I missed the date. That's what I'm saying, sometimes pre-recording certain things you're going to be saying all the time. That way you can make sure you hit all the points and you can plug them right in. I know with StreamYard, you can plug ads in and, at different points. And they're still seeing you, you can speak live, you can use video. Yeah.
I want to also add, and then we're going to hop on to Ms. Nicole. Another great thing, and put your information in the description, because there are people who will still read your descriptions. So, you can post it out there and say on the next episode. So if you forget to mention it, you can put it down in your description that the next episode will air this date. So there will be people who will read your content as well. So just wanted to remind that. So Ms. Nicole, let's hop on over to you, my friend.
And Lee, this doesn't necessarily speak directly to what you're saying, but one thing you might find, there's a guy that I follow on YouTube and he does lives all the time. His lives are too long. So I always watch the edited version. I'm going to watch that shorter version. So you might find you end up with two audiences, one that's going to follow you on the replay and one that's going to follow you live. So, for whatever that's worth, just want to let you know, you'll develop probably a dual following that way.
That's a good point, Nicole. One of the things I do with YouTube is, in addition to the shorts, I always include the entire video for those people who want to, watch the entire video. And then I include also the clips. And, I found that the clips do very well. You get, you got to chunk it out in terms of the, what's key 60 seconds, that people may want to know. And then some other things that I've done, like if I have a really long interview, and I've done this for the bonus episodes, I will break that up. 40, I found on my podcast in terms of stats and numbers, the shorter the podcast episode, the more engagement I get. So let's say if it's a 40-minute episode, let's say if Tanya and I did a 40-minute episode, maybe I'll break it out into two pieces, 20-minute episodes, and then I will also have like an intro, like a different intro, or something like that to introduce the content. So in the editing phase, there's so much you can do. And if it's a really long version, you want to make sure that that it's in bite-sized pieces, and that it's not like Nicole mentioned. She has the friend that just can't streamline her, what she's talking about. You don't want to be like that on your podcast. You want to, I think I mentioned before, you want to have a clear vision of the journey that you're taking your audience to, and they need to be able to follow that journey, because once people can't follow you, that's not good content. You're going to lose them. Yeah. So I love what you're doing, Mr. Lee. It sounds really exciting. It sounds like you're going to be engaging people around health outcomes and, in helping people live better lives, live longer lives, possibly. So definitely I would, poll the people that you are in contact with, your audience, and get your content out. But the main thing I want to tell you is don't overcomplicate it. Don't overcomplicate your process, because people will tell you, spend $1,000 and do this and do that. And it's, Tanya is a wealth of knowledge. Hopefully I've shared a ton of value. You have other podcasters here. Even if you start and you stumble, you started. What you do is you pick yourself back up and you figure, okay, what did I do wrong? And how can I make it better? So nothing, getting started is the first step. And then you just figure out how to get better. If you're going to have on a guest, have a good guest. Have a guest that actually knows what they're talking about. Make sure you've listened to them speak before, because they are a reflection of you. If you bring crazy on your show, you're going to get a crazy response, and it's not going to be a good reflection on your brand. So you want to make sure that they're reputable and that they are qualified to speak about whatever it is that they're talking about.
Again, Michele, I wanted to say thank you for hopping on. We are wrapping up. We got about 6 more minutes. And where can people find more information about your podcast? Where can we find you? Make sure we put that information in the chat so they can follow up with you as well, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so you can find The Boss Experience, and it's DA. Just like you have the baby, this is the Boss Experience. And I'm available on all major podcast platforms, whether it's Apple Podcasts, whether it's Spotify. I'm on all major podcast platforms. You can also Google it and it'll pop up as well. And I am on YouTube as well, with my clips and long versions of podcasts. And if you have additional questions, maybe something pops in your head that you didn't think about, you can also reach out to me at hello@michelledavisnyc.com. So it's Michele with 1 L. hello@michelledavisnyc.com. Michele with 1 L.
I also want to remind you, her information is in the meetup chat. So all the links for her site is on there as well. And then if you have any additional questions, we have the event chat on Meetup on there. So you can still post some questions in there, and somebody will monitor those questions as well. And again, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
My website is Michele Davis. My website is michelledavisnyc.com. And I also have the podcast on the homepage of my website. And it's Michele with 1 L.
Again, thank you so much. Is there any, as they say in the military, alibi fires? Any alibi fires? Any left out questions that we didn't cover, or something that you'd like to hear? Because I'm going to close it out and let you know we will be back here next week. I don't have a special guest, so it'll be me. So you will have an open discussion and bring your questions. Like I think last episode, we had a lot of great questions and dialogue. So I welcome you to come back for next week. And yeah, I think that's it. Again, welcome. Thank you, Miss Michele. I had a pleasure having you on the call.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. And if anyone wants to connect on social media, Michele Davis NYC on all channels and platforms.
Yes. All right. Anybody else? Anybody? Miss Rena, anything? How about you, Mr. Marte? I know you always got something.
You see, I was quiet. It was really good. You answered all my questions, and comments were spot on. So yeah, I'm with it, man. That was awesome. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I hopefully everyone got some value. And if you want just like a quick checklist, just reach out to me via social media, like what should I do first? Because again, this wasn't a how-to. It was more like, kind of my lessons learned and things that I wanted to share. But if there's something that you think you'd want to know, a quick checklist, like what do I need to do first, second, third, just reach out to me and I'm happy to share that with you.
Miss Seal, I know you've been on, and is there anything else? I know you've been driving or.
Oh, I've been helping my daughter organize her home. So yeah, this was great. I loved it. I was listening throughout the entire time. And Michele, this was wonderful. Thank you so much. I learned so much actually.
Oh,
And
thank you.
thank you. Yes, I did have a question. Oh no, it was actually more of a suggestion. You were talking about affiliate marketing. And I posted some ideas as far as maybe being invited back again, and we could listen to your tips on how you actually negotiate affiliate marketing, contracts or deals, and how you find them and how they can find you, how you can monetize it, and how you can introduce it to your audience. Those are things that would really, really come in handy. Basically, it'll be more marketing more than anything else, and using our resourcefulness and creativity to find wonderful affiliate marketers. I would love that.
I'm happy to come back.
Thank you. And Ms. Fua, did you have anything before we close out? Okay. How about you,
No, I
Ms.
don't.
Uz?
Sorry about that.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I said no, I don't. At this time, I was just trying to listen to get ideas. So nothing yet. Me next time. For now, no, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thanks, Michele.
Ms.
thank you.
Uzma, before we close out, anything for you, my friend?
Learning more and more every time. So it was good. Yeah, enjoyed it.
Okay, well, again, we are 8:30. We'll keep us on task, on time. Again, you can check back. We have some more events coming up. We'll have next Wednesday. We'll be back here at 7 p.m. If anybody wants to come in, please invite anybody who maybe has questions about podcasts. And again, save the chat and look forward to, as we always close out Coffee with Tea. Take things in stride, go with the flow, and create your own path. And we'll see you back here on Meetup next week. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.